What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Think Welding and More. Today I'm going to show you how I built my spare tire rack on my Nissan Titan pre-runner. So stick around and check it out. Alright, so here's my spare tire and two ammo cans. These are 30 millimeter ammo cans that I'm going to use for toolboxes. Eventually I'm going to weld some tabs so I can put padlocks on them and use them for storage. So right here I got a 37-inch tire. I want to do a tire holder or spare tire rack in the back of my pre-runner. So I got the tire set up with the toolboxes that I want to use. I'm going to use some 1.5 inch for the main rack and some 1 inch for around the boxes to hold them, and I'm gonna cut through my bed and mount it to the frame so I have a little bit of extra strength on my frame and I don't have to worry about my spare tire flying out when I'm off-roading. I'm going to use a Y strap, so I'm gonna have a Y strap to hold it down. As far as the tape, I put the tape here to try and figure out a design, so when we go into Easy Bend technology, we can enter in the measurements and idea, so I can form the pieces on the bender and weld them together to create a tire mount or tire rack for the back of my pre-runner. So now, since you see how I figure out my idea and design, we'll go inside and I'll show you a little bit on bend tech, and then we'll go out in the front and start forming some tubing on my Pro Tool tubing bender. So stick around and check it out, and let's move on. Alright, so I'm in my office. I have up Easy Bend technology, or Easy Bend tech. This is pretty much what you get with the most basic one. They give you template, custom parts. I get the die library and tubing library. So first thing you're going to want to do if you get this program is you're going to want to go in and put in the size tubing you're going to use and enter in the size dies you're using. There's a program in there that kind of gives you step-by-step instructions on how to do it, and once you get that figured out, then you can move on to doing either templates or custom parts. In this one I'm going to use a template, so I'll go to template. I'm going to do a 4 bend, so I'll go to 4 number of bends. I'll go to 4, and then I'm gonna pick this double bevel hoop, and I'm gonna do outer diameter. Now, since I have that up, I'm gonna go up to the left corner and pick the size tubing I'm using, or material. I'm using 1.5 inch DOM 120 wall. So as you can see, it's 1.5 inch 120 wall. I didn't put in the weight because I'm not worried about it. Then I'm gonna pick the die size. I have a 1.5 inch by 4.5 inch radius die. Now, since I have the die and the material picked out, I'm going to move on to entering my numbers. I've been playing around with it a little bit, so I have an idea on what I want. So right here I'm going to put 38 inches. That's a little bit wider than the tire. And down here I'm going to put 38 inches because I want it to be the same. And the height, I know I want 32 inches, so I'm going to split that in half, and that's going to be 16. And then as far as this one, I'm looking for around 12 inches for this length right here, and I know I could put in 8 inches and 8 inches. And then for this dimension between here and here, I know I want roughly 20 to 21 inches, and I know I can put 10 inches here and 10 inches here, which gets me pretty close. If you see the numbers up here, I have 17, so I know I need to go bigger or smaller with these numbers. So let's try 8 and 8, which gives me 21 and about 3/8. And change this number to 10 and this number to 10. All right, so this is the piece I'm gonna make. I'm gonna do 2 of them and then weld them together, and it will make the shape that I'm looking for my main mount. And that's about it. As you can see up here in the top, gives me all my measurements. I have my cut length, I have my first measure, my second measure, and then it tells me the degree of bend that I'm going to make at each spot. So it's pretty easy, straightforward. As far as this last end piece right here, I know it's going to be too short, and so I'm gonna want to add material. So I'll come over here to part details, and I will add let's say 6 inches. And you can see now I'll have an extra piece that I'll have to cut off, but as the tubing die goes around the outside of it, I'm not going to end up short. And that's my layout. So let's take these numbers, go outside, and start forming some tube. All right, so I got the tubing bender set up. I have my 1.5" die in it with my material. I put marks on it. I have my degree finder, so I know when I move it, I can keep it all on the same plane. I know that my spring back on my material is 2 degrees, so I'm gonna start out with a 39 degree bend. I'm gonna go to 41, and you'll have spring back. After I make the bend, I'm going to move it to the next mark and continue on down the line. I got 2 of these to do, so let's whip them out so we can start welding them together. Let's get to it. Alright, so here it is. I got both those pieces tacked together, ready to be welded, and I am going to do some cross braces. I'm using the tape so I can get a good idea on how I want it, and then I'm also checking out how I'm going to run my 1-inch tubing around these toolboxes or ammo cans. And then the spare tire is going to go in the center, and I'll do some tabs for the Y strap and try and figure out my high lift jack, where I want to put that. All in all, it's turning out pretty good, and let's fit up these cross braces and weld it out. Let's get to it. So I got my 1.5 inch tubing right here. I'm gonna measure out 34 3/4. The inside of it was actually 34 1/4. I added a 1/4 inch to each side, you know, because I'm gonna put a fish mouth on it and need a little bit of extra. So I'm gonna measure it out, and then I'll set up my tubing notcher, and we'll notch it, fit it in place, and tack it up. So I set up the tubing notcher, I put the tubing in there, and I'm gonna cut about a 1/4 inch, give or take, off of the end. I choose to do it this way because when you do the whole cup, it's a lot harder on the drill, and when I get to the halfway point, I will pull it off, pull it back and remove the piece, and then continue to cut, trying to not bend this fancy Harbor Freight tubing notcher here. And then after that, I'll repeat on the other side, and then we'll move on to the other cross brace. Alright, so we got that cross brace finished. I put it in place, I tacked it, and we're going to move on to the other cross brace. I'm going to cut one piece, kind of put some lines on it, figure out the degree. I'll cut it and then cope them. Hopefully I get it right. Let's go. Alright, so I got it all fit up. I'm ready to start welding it. So let's get after it. that we got this bottom part finished, I'm gonna move on to pretty much working on the tabs to mount it to the bed. Originally I was going to cut holes and attach to the frame, but the frame's much wider than this, and it's gonna be sitting on the bed, and I'm gonna mount it you know, front, back, left, right. That way I can get the most out of it. Alright, so I changed the plans a little bit. I ended up doing just a straight bar instead of trying to bend a 90 around it. I'd end up using a lot more material, and there would be a big gap in between. At first I was alright with it, but the more I looked at it and messed around, I ended up not liking it, so I just went ahead and welded a bar across. I'm gonna end up eventually stitch welding the box to the frame, and then inside I'm gonna drill holes and through bolt it to the bed, along with a plate here, back there, and on the sides in this track. That way I have the most anchoring points as I can. So far I'm real happy with it. Next, probably gonna work on putting some tabs on it for the Y-strap, putting some plates with holes in it so I have anchor points. So let's quit messing around and get to it. Alright, so I came out here to finish up my tire mount today. It's crazy. Yesterday it was sunny, 85 degrees. Today it's 70 and drizzling. I don't want to leave this out here too long. I don't want it to rust. I just set it up so I can show you what I have left, so we can get it finished and painted. I went ahead and made some plates, cut out some square plates, drilled some holes in them for 3/8 bolts. Gonna do some nut inserts or nut rivets and mount it down to the bed. I'm gonna weld these ammo cans to the frame, so those are solid, and I put on these lifting eyes, these rings for my Y-strap. I bought a speed strap from Cartech. It's really nice, super happy with it. I went with a flat instead of a twist on the hook. That way it works out for my application. We'll go ahead and weld everything out, spray paint it, bolt it in, and call it good. So let's quit messing around and get to it. Alright, so I got this nut insert tool on Amazon. They're really neat. It's kind of like a rivet, but it has threads in it for bolts. You just, obviously that's tight, this is open, you thread it on, and you drill a hole just big enough for the nut insert, and then once you squeeze it, some leverage, it crimps down like so, grabbing the sheet metal and staying in position. So I got 6 of them to do. I already did 1, so I'll do 5 more and give you a little demonstration. If you've never seen one, they're pretty cool, so let's check it out. so. All right, here we are, gonna weld it up. Then once I weld it up, I'll put it back. I'll tack in the ammo cans, weld those up, and then hopefully I can pull it out by myself and, you know, rattle can it, spray paint it. Just gonna put a black on it, put it back in, bolt it up, put the spare tire on, and that's it. So let's start welding. Let's get to it. Alright, so we finished the welding of the frame. I put it in position and I sat the ammo cans in here so I could mark them so I know where to sand, so I'm not taking too much of the paint off or whatnot. And then with the welding, when I do go and weld it, I'm going to try and focus the heat on the heavier material so I don't burn a hole through the can. Then it defeats the purpose of it being waterproof and keeping dirt out and stuff. And I'm also going to weld both sides, top and bottom of the tube, you know, stitch weld it. That way it has maximum strength. And I'm not going to weld the whole entire thing because I don't want to distort the box. So as far as that, let's clean it up, weld it, and then we'll move on to painting it, installing it, and finishing it up. Alright, so I've mentioned in the past that I like sanding disc. I prefer them over a flapper wheel or a grinding stone, especially when you get into finer grits. They hold up well and they give you a good finish. So I'm gonna go ahead and sand this box to get it ready. So check it out. so I got the frame put in position and a couple bolts in it. I put the ammo cans, that way it can set on the bed in the position that it needs to be in. I'll tack them up and then weld them out right here in position, and then I'll flip it up and weld the bottom side. That way I'm not pulling it in and out. You know, I don't have a lot of help, so I'm doing it on my own. After I weld it out, I will get help, pull it out and paint it, put it back in place, bolt it up, put the tire on, and I call it good. All right, so let's get to it. Alright, so here it is. I got it bolted up. Spare tire with the strap on it. Got the cans for the tools. It's looking pretty good. Super excited. Can't wait for the desert. Yeah. It's going to add a little bit of extra weight in the rear, which is always good on a pre-runner. Got the suspension. Alright, I hope you guys like this video. If you do, give me a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. That really helps me out. Hopefully you got something out of this and it'll help you out for your next project. If not, maybe some entertainment out of my video, me burning my toes while I'm welding. I got some more stuff coming up, so stick around and check it out. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks.